Hello, my name is Maria Trinidad Herrera. Herrera is how it's pronounced in English. And before my aortic dissection, I was busy with life, and I always tend to stress myself and do. I'm kind of an overachiever, do many things at the same time. So one of the things that I always wanted to do is run a marathon. So I was training for a marathon. I trained 2 years in a row, and then the first year I had a new job, and then I decided that I wasn't gonna finish. I made it to 20 miles, and then I decided that I had too much stress, and just doing a new thing, it was gonna be too much for me. So I decided to leave it for the next year. So this was in 2009. So I began my training, and then I sign up and then pay the money, and then they get start getting ready. I get a book that I was following with the schedule for the marathon. So um, training for the marathon. So again, I made it to 20 miles, and it was everything was going well, but somehow I was feeling like. It was difficult for me to run, and I keep thinking maybe it's because I don't know how to run, because I'm not a professional runner. I have always worked out, but I have not run it. I just decided to suddenly do a marathon. It was one of my life goals. So I remember feeling like it was too hard for me to run, but then I have gone to cardiologist, and I have gone to my regular doctor to clear me for the marathon, and they did clear me. So I just kept telling myself, everything is fine. It's not the heart. My heart is healthy. So I keep pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself. So I was very consistent with my training. So I followed my training, and then I made it to 20 miles again. And I don't know, I'm not doing it in order. So I'm just gonna go back and say that I have two children, adult children at the time. I was married and then divorced after 24 years of marriage. And then so I was alone. So I had all these goals that I wanted to achieve. In addition to getting an education, I wanted to do a marathon. So so the doctors could never find anything. So I keep training and training and training. So this is what I was doing before. So the day that of the event that I noticed the first symptoms, I my marathon training required to do long miles one Sunday. I was doing my longer miles on Sunday because I was working a full-time job. I was working a full-time job Monday through Friday. So I was doing the long runs on Sunday, so I had a little time to rest, to be to work on Monday. So I did the 20 miles, and then the following week, the training required you do long miles one weekend, and then the following weekend you do half of what you did before. So that day, I was to do 10 miles since I've already done 20 the week before. So I started running, and then I felt, for some reason, I felt really, really light that day. I felt like, I remember thinking about Michael Jordan and thinking, wow, I feel like Michael Jordan. I feel like I'm flying right now. It was early morning because my daughter was getting married. I was going to go on the train, take the train to Chicago to meet her to go and look at wedding gowns. So I was feeling like Michael Jordan flying, and then I remember making it to 4 miles, and then feeling something like a pulsation in my throat around the Adam's apple. So I remember touching my neck and then ignoring it, and then kept running. And then a few minutes later, then I start feeling like pain going through my right side. through my shoulder, the shoulder blades. And then I remember thinking, what, the symptoms that they say about women, that women have different symptoms than men, and that was one of the symptoms. So I called, at that time I was engaged, so I called my fiance, and then I told him what I was feeling. And then he said, stop running, and then start walking to the road, and then I can come and pick you up. So he came and picked me up and took me to the clinic. I didn't want to go to the hospital because I was feeling fine. It was just those symptoms. So he took me to the clinic, and then in the clinic, of course, they did an AKG, and everything seems to be fine. But with those symptoms, they did not want to let me go home. They sent me to the hospital, and they called the ambulance. So they took me in the ambulance to the local hospital, and then on the way there, one of the things that I remember, the ambulance people were very impressed. It was with my heart rate, that I had the heart rate of an athlete. And they were very impressed with that. And of course, I mean, at the time I was an athlete because I was running a marathon. So they took me to the hospital, and then they did all kinds of testing, and they left me there for observation. That was on a Sunday. Sunday morning, I was there until Monday afternoon. They did all kinds of testing, including a stress test. So they did not find anything. They sent me home. But one thing that they did not do was a CT scan. They did X-rays. So nothing. They kept telling me. They kept coming to see me, and then I kept telling my symptoms. And I wasn't feeling anything at that point, but based on the symptoms that I had. And they say, like, there's no way that is your heart, because all the things that you do, all the running that you do, there's no way that you have a heart problem. So they released me, sent me home Monday afternoon. Then I went to work Tuesday, and then I wasn't feeling that well on Tuesday, but I still went to work. I was feeling tired. I was looking pale. I remember that I got to work, and somebody told me, like, you don't look well. Are you feeling okay? And I said, well, I do feel kind of tired, but I was in the hospital and they didn't find anything. So anyway, so they released me. I went to work, and then I have a training to follow, because in addition to the runnings, I had to do the gym, and I had specific things to do at the gym to keep my strength. So I went to the gym on Tuesday, I went to the gym on Wednesday, and then I did some running on the treadmill. And then I also did some running on Thursday morning in the place where I normally run. So every day I was feeling a little worse and worse, but I kept telling myself, pushing myself and pushing myself. And I just kept telling myself, it's not that hard, it's not that hard. Because I knew that something was telling me that it was hard, but they kept saying that it wasn't hard. So I didn't want to lose my training, so I keep telling myself it's not that hard, and keep pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself. So I went to the gym. Thursday I did some run outside, and then I went to the gym. So at the gym I did a whole workout, all kinds of things that I did, and then I was stretching, the final stretching, and then this was Thursday, so the first thing started on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This wasn't Thursday. So I started feeling, in the stretching, I felt like a zipper rupture. Like I felt like I even hear the noise, like when you open a zipper, and then I remember feeling something all the way to my leg. And then I started seeing like flashing stars. So I didn't want to say anything at that point anymore, because the doctors, they kept making me feel that I was crazy. There was nothing wrong with me. Everything was in my mind, so I didn't even say anything. I didn't call anybody. I came home. I drove myself like that. I could see little stars everywhere. And I drove myself, and then I took a nap. I called work, and I said that I wasn't feeling well. So I lay down, and then I woke up with a terrible pain, terrible pain. And then my fiance called me, and then he said, "How are you doing?" And I told him I had a terrible pain. So he came back, and then he took me to the other hospital. There are two local hospitals in the area that I live. To the other hospital, it was the same thing. They did X-rays, they did EKG, and they, of course, blood work and everything, and nothing. They couldn't find anything, so they again released me, saying that it was stress. So by then, by Thursday night, I couldn't sleep all night. I was just in so much pain. And I had an appointment with my regular doctor, and I called her the next day. I had an appointment on Friday, and I called her early Friday. My appointment was in the afternoon, and I called her on Friday, and I said, "Is it possible that I can come before, because I have a terrible pain?" And honestly, I don't even remember what side it was. And in the book, it says that it was on the right side. So I um, I couldn't sleep all night. I remember putting pressure on the side where the pain was, and putting a book in there and laying down and trying to help me to see if I could get a little sleep. I don't even remember if I had any sleep. So she did not want to see me. One thing was that I had an HMO at the time, so I could not do anything without her. Because I never used to get sick, so I figured an HMO would be good enough for me. So she refused to see me, so I had to wait until 4 o'clock to see her. By the time I got there at 4 o'clock, I was in so much pain that I was shaking. And then when she saw me, then she realized that I was in a lot of pain, and then she said that there were kidney stones, and then she sent me again to the same hospital that I had been over the weekend for a CT scan. So they did a CT scan. They still made me drink like a whole shake, pink stuff, and I was walking around the hospital shaking, freezing. And but I had to take that thing, so I took it. I wasn't able to eat anything in the whole day. So I took the thing, the mixture or whatever it was, the pink stuff. That's all I remember. They put me in the machine immediately. When I got out, they told me, "Your doctor is on the phone." So the doctor said, "You have a ruptured aorta and you need emergency surgery, and there's nobody in Aurora that can do it for you. They had to fly you to Chicago." So um, then immediately they put me in the bed, and they started medicating me, and then I called my family, and so my family, everybody came, and then the doctor kept coming and telling me what I had. And he told me that it was a dissection, and it was very dangerous, that I could die, and that he told me that John Reed died of that many years ago, which I knew John Reed because of Three's Company. So I keep one thing that I remember thinking when the doctor was saying that, thinking like, no, I cannot die. Yes, I have too many things to do. I'm not done. I have too many things to do. I'm not ready to die. I didn't say anything. I was just thinking that. So anyway, they medicated me, and then it was all this back and forth. They couldn't find a doctor. Finally, they found a doctor in Chicago, Northwestern Memorial Hospital. And then they were gonna fly me first. So by the time they found the doctor, they couldn't fly me because I guess there's something that in Chicago with I still don't understand, because by then I was over medicated. So my brother told me that it was because helicopters cannot land in Chicago on the weekends since 9/11 or something in the hospital. So whatever it was, they sent an ambulance from there. I had to wait for the ambulance. The ambulance came, and they took me. By the time I got there, they had everything ready for me. They started anesthesia, and then my family was there, and the last thing that I remember, it was my family around my bed, praying, like, and that was it. I don't remember anything, and then and up until that was on Friday night, and then the next thing I remember is Sunday around 2 o'clock, because I remember opening my eyes and looking at a clock on the wall, and it says 2 o'clock, and I was in and out, coming back. And I remember looking at my hands and looking with wires everywhere, and my hands are really swollen, and my mother sitting next to me, touching me and touching my hand, wherever spot she could find in my hand to touch me, and everybody around my bed. And then, but I was in and out still at that point. So I was in intensive care. I don't know. My daughter told me that I had a nurse there 24 hours a day for a while. And then I'm not sure exactly when they moved me to the regular room. I don't know if it was Tuesday when, I don't know. I don't remember. Tuesday maybe? I don't know, because I got out of the hospital, like I was there about a week. And the doctors kept coming, of course, and then trying to figure out why it happened, because I was not overweight. I've never used drugs. I never smoked. I was too young, so they couldn't understand why, and trying to ask me questions and trying to figure out why it happened to me. Um, then I think a week later I came home, and of course once I got home, it's like, I mean, the moment that I woke up, it was like I was devastated, and I did not know how I was gonna deal with that. But then especially after I got to the hospital, they gave me all these book of instructions, and I was completely overwhelmed. And I was so sad. I just couldn't understand why it happened to me, because I always took care of myself. I ate healthy. I never used drugs. I never did anything to hurt my body. The worst thing that I did was drink coffee. So I couldn't understand. I kept asking why? And I cried a lot. All I did was cry for many days. And of course, I couldn't do anything. My daughter came. They told them not to leave me alone I don't know, for a long time. They couldn't leave me alone. I don't remember how long. They took turns taking care of me, and there was always somebody with me. But that's when the PTSD started, and I didn't know anything about it. And at that point, I did not want to know anything about it, because I was completely overwhelmed. I did not want to know what happened to me. I did not want to know what they did to me. And then little by little, I started wanting to know what happened, what they did to me, how they did. So then I joined a support group, and the only one that I found, it was in England. It was like I was the fourth member of that group. And it was in England, and then it was somebody from Germany, somebody from England, somebody from the United States, and I think it was a lady from 3 people, and I was the fourth one. And then later on, more people came. But they helped me a lot, because they explained to me, the one in Germany, who she still communicate, we connected in Facebook, he explained to me, which was the same thing that happened to him. So he explained to me what it was, and he sent me pictures, and so I began to understand a little more about what happened. And then, of course, the getting back into my feet, then excuse me, um, for immediately, like 2 weeks after the surgery, I started having a cough, a really bad cough. And then I had to go to the doctor like every week for a while, all the way in Chicago, and then every 2 weeks, and then every 3 weeks. So they say that I had water in my lungs. So I was coughing for a while, and then I started walking and walking and walking, but I couldn't walk alone. Somebody had to walk me. Basically, I felt like a little puppy that I had to beg somebody to walk me. So and I was still crying and crying and still saying, like, the why me question, the why me question, which we all ask when something like that happens. And then I kept thinking that it was a punishment from God and why he punished me. And I told my daughter one time that it was a punishment because I got divorced. And then she said, "No, Mom, it's not a punishment." But I couldn't understand any other reason that it was happening to me because I have never done anything to harm my body. And so anyway, that is really what happened. Here I am now. That it's gonna be 15 years on this month. Um, August 22nd. That's when it happened. And my son told me the other day that the doctors told him that it would be very possible that I would not make it a year or past a year. So I remember they never told me that until now. Little by little, they're disclosing things. He was just saying because it will be 15 years this month. And so I remember the first year they had a big party for me. All my family came, and it was like a celebration because they call it my second birthday. So they had a celebration. Everybody in my family came, and it was because of that. Because I guess the first year was very critical, and I made it the first year, and here I am, 15 years later. And 15 years later, 15 years, many things had happened. I have, after I had my surgery, like, let's see, 11, like a couple years later, I started thinking about getting my master's in social work. So I decided to do it, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to finish. So I prayed a lot to God to allow me to finish my master's, and then it took 3 years, so I finished it. And then I started working, and I was working for the state of Illinois, which I retired a few years, almost 5 years ago. So then I got my master's, and then I moved to another agency, and then I worked a few more years, and then I retired, and then even before I retired. So anyway, so that happened 2009. Then like 2016, I started having more problems. It was like TIAs. I had a few. I was in the hospital from 2016, like July through January 2017, 6 or 7 times. And it was TIAs, and it was also kidney blockages. And so that's the last time that it was in January 2017 that I had a kidney blockage in the right kidney, and I already had a blockage in the left kidney because the same thing related to the aorta, because my aorta dissected all the way to the iliac. And by the way, I had what they call a triple A, ascending, descending, and then also have an abdominal aorta that is still under observation. So but they could only replace the ascending aorta because it was an emergency surgery. So when I had the second kidney blockage, the thoracic surgeon said that I could live without one kidney, but not without two. So he decided to do more studies, and then decided to do what they call an elephant trunk, which is like another. They again replaced the ascending aorta and then the arch this time, and then they put like a sleeve, which is a stent on the descending aorta. And so to give it a little more protection, because they really don't want to do that surgery because it's even more risky. So they did it in March 2017. I had my second one. So up until now, I haven't been in the hospital. I mean, I've been in the hospital a few times, but not. Hopefully, I mean, things are going better now, and hopefully I won't be in the hospital again for that. But I mean, it's something that every time happens, every time I feel something, I get really, really anxious and really, really worried and completely stressed because I think I'm so afraid that I have to have another surgery because I really do not feel like I will be able to handle another one emotionally and physically because, of course, 15 years, I'm getting older. And just having 3 open heart surgeries is just too much. Something that I hope I never have to do. So anyway, the other piece is advice for people that are diagnosed. So my advice for anybody that has a diagnosis in aortic dissection, any type, A, B, or any type, is to be really assertive with the doctors. And if you feel something, I mean, you feel something and make sure that you get a CT scan because it's the only way to see it. The CT scan, X-rays are not going to do it. And then also to take care of yourself after you have a surgery, to take really good care of yourself. And I changed my diet. I always ate healthy, but I used to eat fish and chicken. And so when I started having problems in 2017 again, then I decided to go vegan. So I do eat, sometimes I eat cheese and I eat eggs, but briefly. So now I'm mostly vegan. And it has worked for me because I feel like it's just, I'm doing everything within my control to stay healthy. And so besides that, and then also exercise, I do a lot of walking. I can never run a marathon, which was really sad that I can never do that, but I accepted it, and then so I do a lot of walking. I walk, and then I do some weights, which light weights, and just to stay healthy as possible. And then, of course, take your medications, monitor your weight, your stress levels, your your diet, your sleep, your stress levels, and your medications. Those are the things that I try to follow. I mean, of course, the sleep, you have a little less control. Sometimes I don't sleep that well, but I try to make up for it later when I can. So I don't know what else to say. So thank you. That's it. Thank you very much.